Whether the five prayers are in Makkah or Medina, they are not in Makkah, that's not true. It is true that masjid, first masjid, but in Makkah there is no need of masjid because Kaaba is there. That might be the issue. And in Medina there is nothing. So it must have to start there. But my question basically is totally different. I think I have not been, maybe I have not been able to communicate. But I think on your presentation, it basically is very beautiful, very interesting, very moving. But I have one caution that you are emphasizing the aspect, which is very important, that Salat basically moves us or brings us to create, to recreate, to kind of move or movement in other dynamics, which is truly in other words, important during our Muslim history and situation. But I'm afraid that's where I have a little bit kind of question to Iqbal to when he moves to that aspect. For example, you would say the Muslims have become so much used to the sajda that they will fall down in sajda for hours and hours, but they don't know how to do the iqamah or the qiyam because they are passivity in other words. Dynamism and movement is very important, but I think the point which by the Salatul Jummah in the Quran, which is being again re-emphasized, is that Salat is, or as you people alluded to it, I think that's why I understood, why I'm saying that, re-emphasizing your point, that this is one of the best way of communication with God. Okay, so Islam, in other words, gave Salat is everywhere, worship is everywhere, but this particular form of worship has bringing in Islam, brought to it that directly every human being, whether even in the congregation, directly is communicating with God. And so it basically break down all the other means or tools or mediation in between. So that's why that it is not, when the market is brought on the masjid, that also brings that, that you do not, in other words, within the market you must remember God. Not that you remember God and then when you leave, then go to the market and forget God. So that's the reason that, and that comes in the experience. وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً أَوْ لَهْوًا انفَضُّوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. So basically this is the human nature that will go to the material. We immediately want to go and do our business. So that I think that point is beautiful. But I think the point is that we should not emphasize this dynamism to such an extent that the recollection of God or our connection with God should may not be forgotten, because that is.
No, you're right. Because وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ.
We have a few more minutes. Any additional questions or comments from anyone? Okay.
If you address there is like you was asking why Musa. So what I don't have much knowledge, but still this question has arisen that the pagans were there at that time, and which other population was around there? If it were Jews, mostly Jews to whom our prophet was addressing, then therefore that reference will come more frequently comparing to Isa or any other. So if the Jews population was there, I'm just thinking.
In Medina, yes.
So that will cause to give that reference, Musa's reference more often, and that will come more.
There is something very interesting because if we take the prayer,
well, we should all think. I
Exactly.
have thought over it. I have one point basically, but I think that this is very interesting. Right? Regardless of, I think I agree that I'm not saying that whether this hadith is correct or not correct. That's not the point. I approach to the hadith or any kind of the things that what lesson you can learn from it, even if they were made up. definitely they were made up for some purpose, if they were made up. But maybe that, because none of us are, at least I'm not expert of hadith, so I cannot say whether it is made up or it is.
Because if we study the prayer itself,
Right. But I think that the point which I reflect on that comes is basically because you know that Musa is called Najiullah, or the closeness of Moses in terms of communication with God. Okay, is a challenge. And Moses is concerned really that because no other one has that experience, okay, which now Muhammad is getting through the Miraj. And in this closeness, what he brought for the community. Because my community is a chosen community. Okay, the chosen people of God, or priestly people of God, the Jews. Okay? So definitely this Muhammad is how he is bringing his now the Ummah or humanity back to God. What way of communication or that is, I think that I see the Salat as, this is my personal, in other words, understanding that I see the Salat as the most purified and the most, I would say, powerful way or practice of communicating with God or being in the presence of God. There's no other way, you know, and that's the reason that, in other words, and in the presence of God, you brought also that point. These are not new points, basically, that you also mentioned that, the consciousness.
exactly.
Okay, you can, for example, meditation was there. The Prophet, what we call tahannus or tahannuf, whichever we might take it, tahannuf was there, meditation was there. The Prophet went into the Hira, you know. But not meditation, no. You have to calm consciousness and move. And again, in each movement, Allahu Akbar, which brings you back into, don't get lost into it.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's